Hi and welcome to my channel. This is Virginia and today we're going to go over the new moon in Scorpio on 11/20 at 1:45 a.m. Eastern Time. New moons are initiations and new beginnings. As you can see in the graph above to the right, the moon is with the sun from the perspective of the earth. And this is what a new moon is the merging of the yin feminine negative moon energy with the yang positive masculine sun energy. So when you combine both opposite yin and yang, you get the Tao, yields a new life to manifest here on earth. And they have a span of about 6 months, mainly the first month up until the next new moon, and the remaining 5 months up until the full moon in Scorpio. And Scorpio is a fixed water sign, so fixed signs offer resistance to change, but water helps with flow, and water is very emotional, so this is a very sensitive new moon. The new moon represents our emotions, our instincts, and our body, so we're going to feel this very deeply and personal. And the sun is illuminating the darkness, which is ruled by Scorpio, that which is hidden, the unconscious realm, the forbidden or the taboo, anywhere from sex to death and rebirth, both the beginning and the end of life and of cycles. Scorpio is very deep, intuitive, passionate, magnetic, but is also very faithful, though the shadow side is jealousy, manipulation, and it can be too intense. The archetype of Scorpio is the alchemist that makes lead into gold, or the phoenix bird that is reborn from its own ashes. Scorpio rules the 8th house of trust and intimacy, but also shared resources, usually from a partner, but anywhere from a personal relationship to a business partner, or wherever shared resources are involved, including inheritances, loans, investments, taxes, insurance claims, and so on. So these are the themes that are going to play out for the collective. And when the sun is in Scorpio from the perspective of the earth is in the opposite sign, which is Taurus, from heliocentric astrology or the perspective of the sun. And the Taurus-Scorpio axis is the financial axis. So finances are a big theme here. Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, the warrior, and Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, the warrior planet, and Scorpio is usually ruled by Mars, the warrior planet, and in modern astrology by Pluto, the lord of death, rebirth, and transmutation, which is both transformation and mutation, so growth and change. The new moon is in the third decan, or the third of the sign, which is mutable, so it will assist us with change, and this is ruled by the moon, adding to the sensitive nature. The symbol of Pluto is that of a circle of wholeness on top of the crescent moon of receptivity over the cross of as above, so below. The new moon is at 28 degrees in Scorpio with 11 minutes. So again, we have another new moon in the last degree of the sign, which makes it more intense because it's almost at the 29 anoretic critical degree, which is the maximum of peak of something before it changes into something else. And when something is at the last degrees of a sign, what makes it more intense is that from the sidereal point of view, or Vedic astrology, the new moon is in Scorpio too. This is a very particular new moon because it's joining Mercury Cassimi. Cassimi represents when a planet is conjoined at the same degree of the sign, which is said to carry an increased power. But Mercury is retrograde, so Cassimi usually happens when it's halfway through the retrograde in its inferior conjunction, meaning that Mercury is on the inside of the sun, between the Earth and the sun. And then Mercury will continue to go back up until it stations direct, and then it will Cassimi again in the superior conjunction where Mercury is on the other side of the sun. And Cassimi is basically the resetting of the synodic cycle, pretty much like a new moon, but in this case is with the new moon. So we have the 3 planets together. So what does Mercury retrograde represent? Mercury rules communications, and the retrograde rules the review, reassess, reconsider, research, return, redo, everything RE. And Mercury is also the merchant planet that rules the market. So I expect narrative shifts and market pivots. But the most important thing here is that this stellium of 3 planets is opposed Uranus, the planet of shock, the lord of upheaval, surprises, and expected. But Uranus is also a very liberating force and wants you to break free. And this is also the higher octave of Mercury. And it rules tech, AI, crypto, so I expect high volatility. The good news is that there is a big water trine with all 3, with great benefic Jupiter exalted in Cancer, and also the great magnifier making everything bigger, and with the Saturn-Neptune sort of conjunction in Pisces. Saturn on one hand constricts and limits, but on the other hand it helps to build structure and set boundaries. And Neptune expands but also dilutes and confuses too. On a personal note, those two together are a signature for manifestation in its highest frequency, but also a reality check if we are not in alignment. For the collective and the economy, markets don't like confusion, and Saturn has a little bit of a corrective action. But because they're all in a trine energy, this flows making everything easier for what I think we might receive a boost of some kind. But this shows mixed signals with so many planets retrograde, especially with Uranus, the trickster that went back into Taurus, the sign of money, destabilizing the economy. And Jupiter is in a tense square with Chiron, the planet of corrections, so this looks full of disruptions and chaos, which can manifest in extremes both ways. And Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, is at the bending of the nodes of fate, so we might want to be careful with our actions. Now Venus, the other cosmic lover and the planet of diplomacy, harmony, but also money, is at fall in Scorpio. And this is conjunct Black Moon Lilith, which is the apogee of the moon, basically the furthest point away from the earth, which has a witchy but seductive vibe. So we have to be careful with temptation, and it's best to lay low anywhere from the personal to the financial. So the cosmic lovers are not looking very hot now. And Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio, is in a sextile with this new moon, though you cannot see it here because I'm working with tighter orbs, because otherwise it's too much information. And Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, transformation, but also wealth and power, and is in the sign of Aquarius, which represents the collective. And it's supporting this new moon. And Pluto is still in that mini trine or grand sextile between the outer planets by orb, not exact, that's why you cannot see it here, where Neptune is at the apex. Historically, when Saturn has been at the apex of this configuration, it initiates wars, but when Neptune has been at the apex of this configuration, it dissolves war, it generates peace. And the last time they were together in Aries, where they will conjunct in February next year, was like 6,000 years ago. So we don't have much reference to see how this will play out. But in a world that looks like is about to explode, what could possibly bring peace? I think that the Great Conjunction would bring great awakening, and even Nostradamus warned about this period. So what could possibly bring peace in this world at this time? I believe this could be related to Three-Eye Atlas, which I spoke of extensively in previous videos, and I don't want to repeat myself. Yet I will insist on the possibility of an alien event that would set the record straight. On one hand, Reagan said that the only thing that was going to unite humanity was an alien invasion, which leads me to Project Bluebeam, which is this theory of a man-made alien event to control the narrative. As in the case of an actual alien event, they will not be able to do so. They want to control the masses against panic on one hand. On the other hand, they're talking about a possible hostile alien event or a threat to humanity, and they had even activated the Earth defense system, which seems yet another manipulation event to control through fear. So they're walking a tightrope here as they don't want to lose control. And this will also be in line with the warning of Eisenhower regarding the military-industrial complex. In the best of the cases, this is a man-made event that could unite us before we blow ourselves up, because as they divide and conquer, things are getting out of control and they take a life of its own, and that's what they fear the most. In the worst of the cases, this is another attempt at pushing their agenda, the Agenda 2030, digital ID, and a surveillance or Orwellian dystopic state. Though I don't think the population is going to allow it. Now, if aliens are actually involved, I don't think they're going to be able to control the narrative much, and I actually think that we are being monitored, because with the advancement of technology and the state of the world, we are a threat to ourselves and others, as nuclear energy has ripple effects of cosmic proportions. And a Nobel Prize in Physics stated that probably 3i Atlas has been launched our way since the time of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But something less discussed is what's going on at CERN, which I mentioned I call them concern because it's concerning, but also I feel that we're being conned. CERN is a particle collider in Switzerland, I think, and apparently they have been able to open portals to other dimensions, and some even state that entities had gone through, which had altered the fabric of reality and affected timelines. In that case, we're not just a problem to ourselves, but we're a danger to others too. Either way, I expect more news about alien phenomena in the upcoming months, with some kind of big event in February leading into eclipse season in spring. Now let's see how this will play out for the US. This new moon in Scorpio falls in the 12th house of spirituality, but also loss, mental health, and self-undoing. And we can all agree that people are losing it, and that America as an empire is falling. But there is also a revival, and all these conflicts around the world seem to be of religious nature. And religion is more of a facade, because the real motives are usually power and resources. With Venus representing money in the 11th house of the collective in the sign of Scorpio, I expect news regarding the markets and how this will affect the population. With Mars the warrior and Mercury the communicator in the 12th house of hidden enemies and gaslighting, there's a spirit of fight for truth, and the giant Jupiter is on the US Mercury, magnifying any information in the 8th house of hidden affair and financial manipulation. And now we see how they're backtracking us into the Epstein's file, for example. And I have talked in my previous videos about the Saturn-Neptune sort of conjunction in Pisces in the 3rd house of the US, representing gaslighting in the narratives and dissolution of government structures and boundaries between the countries and neighboring countries, like Trump is calling Canada the 51 state. And the southern border hasn't been a border, and without a border you don't have a country. And Uranus retrograding at the 29 critical degree in Taurus, the sign of financials, in the 6th house of daily life and work and service. This is affecting our economy, the job industry, the service industry, the healthcare system, and is a threat to the grid, with all the innovation taxing our outdated electric grid, and with quantum computing, possible hacking, and the threat of AI taking over. So when they talk about the 3 days of darkness, I think this is going to be a problem with the grid, which might resolve in 3 days. But during those 3 days, there might be maybe a financial reset or a wealth transfer. Yet the timing of that isn't clear, as Uranus is a slow-moving planet, and there's a lot of astrodynamics at play between the Great Conjunction in February, next year's eclipses, and whatnot. And in the background, we have to remember that we just survived the United States Pluto return last year and the Chiron return, and we're heading to a Uranus return, and we had a Neptune opposition, and we're heading for a Saturn opposition. So these are very pivotal times in history where we are at a crossroads between utopia and dystopia. Utopia being the awakening of humanity through critical mass, where we are at the verge of it. And critical mass is the minimum amount of energy required to elicit a catalyst reaction of change that is irreversible. And we're almost there. And the best way to assist with awakening is recommending you this movie that is called Thrive, that it was deemed the best documentary in 2012, and you can get it for free at freetothrive.org. And here we can see how Pluto and the new moon are out of bounds. Now, Pluto is at the verge, going back in bounds up until sometime next year. But Pluto goes out of bounds every like 15 centuries, so this is super significant. And historically, when it's been in its north declination, it had favored the ruling class. But now it's been on the south declination, favoring the collective population, empowering us, and assisting for that awakening that I was talking about. And the overall scoring of this new moon is +6, which is not bad. And the one leading the race is great benefic Jupiter with 9 points, exalted in Cancer, followed by the new moon itself with 5 points. So this is overall auspicious. And last in the list are Mercury and Saturn, which are -5 points each, and they're both retrograde. So Saturn as a malefic doesn't have much strength at the moment. And the degree of this new moon is 28 with 11 minutes. So this is a Cancer degree, which has a protective, feminine, and intuitive nature. And this goes pretty much in line with anything water, and especially Scorpio. So you're going to be able to tap into the other side behind the veil. And the net number is 1, which is the number of the sun, which represents the soul. And the minutes is 11, which is a master number, and the net number is 2, which is the number of the moon and emotions, which is also very intuitive. And for the Sabian symbol, we round up to 29 degrees Scorpio, which is the anaretic critical degree. And the symbol of this are children in Halloween custom indulging in pranks. Now, this means playful transformation, adopting masks or roles to explore hidden aspects of the self, the power of disguise, expressing shadow or subconscious in harmless creative ways. This is releasing tension through humor, play, or symbolic mischief. Is also facing fears in a safe, ritualized context, and experimenting with identity, stepping outside one's own limits and roles. Like, for example, for the adult would be the equivalent of exploring tantra or role playing, and even S&M dynamics or whatever flies your boat. Anyway, the interpretation of this has to do with catharsis after deep emotional intensity. Scorpio has gone through the death rebirth process, and now, just before entering Sagittarius, it learns to laugh at the darkness. The Halloween image symbolizes a control encounter with fear and transformation, the ability to dance with the shadows rather than being consumed by them. It's a degree of psychological release, creativity, and metamorphosis, where humor and play can be healing tools as well. And for the correspondences, we have the tarot card 7 of Cups, which is the Lord of Illusionary Success. And the keywords are fantasy, temptation, projection, confusion, escapism, creative imagination, emotional overwhelm. So what's the lesson is to discern truth from illusion, recognizing which desires are soul-guided and in alignment versus ego-driven and out of alignment. Now, to work with the energy of this new moon, we have 3 Scorpio herbs. Scorpio rules the gonads, and we have cayenne pepper, which is a Mars herb and is hot. It smooths stagnation, which helps with Scorpio fixed nature. We have black walnut, which is ruled by Pluto, and this cleans toxins, is anti-parasitic, now that everybody is into the parasite fad, and is also very protecting. And we have myrrh, this myrrh smoke for purification and transformation, but you can also use essential oils. And 3 good crystals to work with the sacral chakra, which is the chakra of the gonads that correspond to the Scorpio energies, are black stones or stones in red. And we have obsidian that has a protective grounding nature and reveals truth and clears negativity. We have hematite, which protects blood, transforming energy into action. And we have black tourmaline that shields against negative energy. Now, this new moon is going to be felt more by Scorpios and other fixed signs like Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo, and it's going to be easier on the other water signs, Pisces and Cancer. For Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 8th house of trust and intimacy. So there is some new beginning regarding these, or share resources and other people's money, like investment, loans, inheritance, insurances, claim, taxes, and so on. But mainly your significant other's resources. So expect some kind of new beginning in any of these areas. For Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 7th house of partners and significant others, anywhere from personal relationships to business partners and even others in general. It's also the house of legal matters and public enemies. So there's a new beginning, possibly with a new person in your life. For Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 6th house of work and routine, service and service pets or pets in general, and healthcare. So there's a new beginning that could be with a new lifestyle change, a new diet or exercise routine, or maybe a work-life balance matter. For Cancer, this falls in your house of creativity, recreation, and procreation. This is the house of joy and fun. So either there's a new beginning in your dating life, or a new creative project, or even a new child. For Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your house of home and family, roots, the private life, and real estate in general. So either there's a new living situation, or you're moving with someone new, or you're acquiring real estate, or maybe you're starting a home renovation. For Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your house of communications, learning, writing, and peers in general, like siblings, cousins, co-workers, and neighbors. So either you're starting a new learning program, or maybe you're studying a new language, or you're writing something, or there's a new relationship with peers. For Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 2nd house of finance and self-worth and also values. So there's a new beginning that has to do with this. So it could be a new income stream, or a reassessing and reprioritizing of values, or a new sense of self-worth. For Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 1st house of self. So this is all about you, your identity, your look, and your style. So anywhere from a new hairstyle to some kind of cosmetic procedure, or just good old-fashioned death and rebirth process, very Scorpio style. For Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your house of spirituality, mental health, and also self-undoing and institutions. So either you're starting with a mental health program, or a spiritual retreat, or joining a church or a meditation group, or even leaving an addiction, or going to rehab. For Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your 11th house of groups and association, anywhere from your community, your social life, networking, and your tribe. So this could also be money that comes from your career. So there's a new connection that is very beneficial for you. For Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this falls in your career and reputation sector. So there's a new beginning related to your company or your industry, or the reputation that you have in your company or in your industry, like a promotion or getting a new position. And finally, for Pisces, this is in your house of expansion, anywhere from higher education, foreign travel, and belief systems. So you might be thinking of joining a new study program, or becoming a teacher, or traveling abroad, or you might have a new belief system, especially about yourself and what you can do in the world. I hope that this helped you, but the best way I can help you is with a private consultation or with a customized book about you. It takes me a minute to make these videos and just a sec to like, so please return the favor. I'm afraid I've been shadow banned. Actually, I've been told that people who subscribe have been unsubscribed without their consent, and I'm afraid that my work has not really been paying off, and I'm too busy to keep up with the new moon and full moon videos, so I'm going to downsize to just the monthly new moon videos, which are about new beginnings, and skip the full moons, which are about endings. And that is part of my new moon resolution, to allocate time in a more effective way that gives back to the effort I'd make. And at the moment, that is teaching astrology, making private consultation, and customized books. So if you are interested in any of them, go to astrologybyvirginia.com and send me a message with your birth data. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next one. Namaste. And this is a book about you. Here will go your name, your natal chart, the table of contents, an introduction, my bio, your natal chart, your numerology, then your lunar progressions, and then we have horoscope for a whole year, other offers of my readings, my contact information, and that's it, folks. Contact me for your copy.